Now, just a little bit of precursor before this video starts that you're about to watch. This was recorded prior to the confirmation that the Monsterverse is going to continue. So just keep that in mind, and I am going to be having videos coming out regarding the future of the Monsterverse and why I definitely think that the Monsterverse may be shifting more towards Kong's side and Kong's perspective. So stay tuned for all that, but until then, enjoy the video, guys. Will Godzilla vs. Kong get a sequel? I don't know for sure. There's really no way to tell. Hopefully the hashtag continue the Monsterverse hashtags that have been trending across Twitter, Facebook, and all social media platforms end up working. But I do have a few ideas, and I do think I have a good direction of where the Monsterverse is going to be heading if they do continue it, based on concept art and things that they've shown for previous movies, including unused kaijus and all that good stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to stay tuned. And as always, if you're new here, consider liking the video and consider subscribing as well. I post all kinds of nerdy content all the time, ranging from Godzilla, Star Wars, and the Monsterverse. So with all that being said, let's get into it.
The Atomic Faith.
So it's definitely been a few days since I've talked about Godzilla vs. Kong or anything relating to the Monsterverse. I do want to cover other things on my channel, and I do have a lot of things that I'm passionate about and interested in, but I figured it's time to come back to the Monsterverse. There's so much to talk about, and I could honestly just make this a Godzilla channel, but I really don't want to. There's so much to talk about. There's always more news coming out, and there's always more exciting things to think about, to talk about, and to theorize about. So in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about the future of the Monsterverse and who I think could show up in the future of the Monsterverse if they decide to make another movie, what that movie would be, and all that good stuff. So for starters, I just want to say that I do think the Monsterverse will continue, but who do I think would be in a Monsterverse sequel? Well, for one, I definitely think that Space Godzilla is a huge contender, especially considering he's really just the biggest Godzilla villain other than Destroya, other than King Ghidorah and, you know, Rodan and Mothra, who are kind of villains, also kind of allies. I don't know. It's that water gets a little muddy. But I do think that Space Godzilla is a huge contender, and he's my number one pick. Space Godzilla next to King Ghidorah has always been my favorite Godzilla villain. I also really love Gigan, but I'll get to that later. But no, I think Space Godzilla would be the logical next step. I think if I had to choose, the next movie would show Godzilla and Kong teaming up again to maybe fight Space Godzilla, or possibly destroy it, but probably Space Godzilla, and then you would introduce Godzilla Jr. and lead that into another future Monsterverse movie where Godzilla Jr. would become the main Godzilla and Godzilla would die at the hands of Destroya, all similar to everything that happened during the Heisei era of the Godzilla movies. I would love to see that play out in the Monsterverse. But Space Godzilla would be my number one pick for the next Godzilla movie. Now, what do I think is likely and what do I think is possible? Well, that's a different story. In order for us to look at what I really think is possible in the Monsterverse, we have to go back. Now, we have to go back to Godzilla King of the Monsters, and we have to go back to some of the concept art for the movie. Now, what did that concept art show? Well, many people watching this video may not remember, but they showed a few different Titans, including Gamera, who I also really want to see, and I remember thinking that that might have been who ended up being, I think, Methuselah, the gigantic mountain titan. When Methuselah originally showed up in the Godzilla King of the Monsters trailer, I do remember thinking that might be Gamera, or Anguirus, but I was wrong on both accounts. But we did see concept art of what Gamera could have potentially looked like in the Monsterverse, and as well as Gamera, we saw an image of Gigan. Now I'm going to throw that image up on the screen here, and you can take a look at that. Gigan is also one of my favorite Godzilla villains. I just think he has such a cool design, and his almost humanoid-like design is really awesome. Now, for those who don't know who Gigan is, and I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you have somewhat of an idea of who Gigan is. He is one of Godzilla's most famous villains, and one of his villains with the biggest following. During the Showa era of Godzilla movies, Gigan was actually, I guess, a dinosaur, a monster from another planet that was kind of similar to Godzilla in a way. Now, he was killed and then revived and made into a sort of cyborg by a group of aliens, and then he was sent to Earth to invade. Now, Gigan has these hook claw hands. He has a sort of razor blade in his chest that he can use to kind of slice up enemies close. He has kind of a beak, kind of like a bird, and then he has these two claws around the side of his mouth that are really cool. They showed some concept art of him in the Monsterverse, and this is what he was supposed to look like here, and I would have been so excited to see Gigan. I'm sure they cut him because there was no way for them to really implement him in a small way without fans freaking out and wanting some sort of big big explanation or something. Maybe that's why they decided to cut him. But whatever the reason is, they did decide to cut him from the movie. But that's kind of my theory on who I think could potentially be villains in the future Monsterverse movies. I definitely think Gigan is a huge possibility, considering they didn't use him in King of the Monsters. Maybe they're considering using him again. I think that the best route for them to go would be for the next movie for him to face off against Space Godzilla, just like the Heisei era. Introduce Baby Godzilla. Maybe just follow that whole movie where Space Godzilla takes Baby Godzilla hostage, and then Godzilla and Kong can go team up to fight Space Godzilla. And then in the final Monsterverse movie, you have Destroya come in there and be just the truly epic beast. I mean, they could maybe even change his origins a little bit and have him have some DNA from Ghidorah or something. Just make him the ultimate monster. Have him kill Godzilla, have Godzilla Jr. become the new Godzilla, bring back Fire Godzilla, all that good stuff. Maybe bring back Kong again. This is just kind of a dream and a fantasy, but nonetheless, if something like this were to happen, it would just be so amazing. But if they were to do after that, like this is like the end game, and maybe they've had a few other Monsterverse movies too, a few other kaiju movies outside of Godzilla, like another Kong movie, like a Gamera movie, like a Mothra movie, and then maybe they bring it all together and they do Godzilla Final Wars. They make it like the Avengers Endgame, and they do a whole ton of fan service. They bring in Zilla, they have Godzilla fight Zilla, and they do this whole entire crazy movie, and then that could be maybe a proper end to the Monsterverse, or just a more satisfying way to send it off. Because right now, at the end of Godzilla vs. Kong, man, you're like itching for the next Godzilla movie. Because, you know, me, I'm a huge fan of Godzilla to begin with, so I'm always itching for a new Godzilla movie. Just seeing Godzilla vs. Kong, it's almost like, okay, this is the universe has been established, right? It's like, this is like the Avengers 1. We still have a whole bunch more stories to tell and a whole lot more to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts and my little breakdown of what I want for the future of the Monsterverse, and I also threw what I think was likely in there as well, because I just kind of wanted to be realistic. So comment what you think down below. Let me know what you think about what the next Monsterverse movie should be. Let me know if you're excited. Let me know if you want to hashtag continue the Monsterverse, or you just want it to be done and you want Toho to come back and make their Godzilla universe. Whatever you think, comment down below. Let me know. And as always, if you're new here, be sure to like the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Hit that subscribe button as well. I post all kinds of nerdy content all the time, and I would love to talk with you about it. And with all that being said, until the next video, be safe and stay well, guys. Bye-bye.
I failed my mission, and now I'm working with the enemy. And I can't even get that right. I have apparently hurt Amethyst's feelings, which was not my intent. If I've damaged my standing with the best gem here, then I've made a serious